Aerospace engineering is a game of ratios. Specifically, the fact that extreme power generation is meaningless if the mass of the generator prevents the craft from leaving the ground. This is the JT60 fusion device. It illustrates the primary challenge of traditional magnetic confinement, the massive structural scale and heavy shielding required to keep the reaction stable. Transitioning this technology to flight requires a reactor architecture that can be miniaturized without sacrificing the high power density of these city-sized machines. Research divisions like Lockheed Martin Skunk Works have moved this requirement into the patent phase, with filings like US 2018/0047462A1 detailing the hardware for a mobile compact fusion core. The central component of these patents is the field reversed configuration, or FRC. Physically, an FRC is a self-contained high-density toroid of plasma. Unlike a tokamak, which relies on massive external magnets, the FRC sustains its own internal magnetic topology. The field lines circulate entirely within the plasma boundary, creating a closed, self-correcting system. By removing the need for heavy external electromagnets, the FRC provides the first viable path for integrating a fusion reactor into a mobile aerospace frame. The performance of this core is measured by plasma beta, the ratio of the internal plasma pressure to the external magnetic field pressure holding it together. FRCs are unique in plasma physics because they can achieve a plasma beta of nearly 1, meaning the plasma pressure is almost equal to the magnetic pressure. This efficiency allows the reactor to maintain a massive power density within a volume small enough to fit inside a standard aircraft. This specific magnetic topology also produces a critical secondary effect: inherent rotational dynamics. The strong internal currents that define the FRC naturally force the high-density plasma mass to rotate at extreme velocities. This results in a stable, high-speed spin of a charged, dense mass, the exact physical configuration that relativistic models describe as a prerequisite for influencing the geometry of spacetime. Rather than just acting as a power source, the FRC's geometry creates the specific angular momentum required to generate gravitational effects. Even with a compact core, aerospace fusion faces a radiation paradox. Standard nuclear reactions produce emissions that are lethal to both crews and sensitive avionics. Traditional deuterium-tritium fusion releases 80. To solve this mass problem, advanced programs utilize aneutronic fuel cycles. By using specific fuel recipes like proton-boron 11 or deuterium-helium-3, the reaction can be tuned to change its physical output. These reactions fuse to produce highly charged alpha particles, essentially helium nuclei, releasing almost zero destructive neutrons. This change in output allows a high-yield reactor to operate safely within an aircraft without the massive weight penalty of neutron shielding. Eliminating shielding is only half the battle. Standard power plants convert nuclear heat into electricity using heavy, complex steam turbines. Because the aneutronic cycle produces charged particles rather than just heat, the need for a thermal mechanical cycle is eliminated. In this system, the central plasma pulse expands outward, where it presses against a magnetic boundary layer. As the charged plasma pushes against this magnetic field, it induces a high-voltage current directly into the external coils wrapping the reactor. This inductive process can recover energy with a theoretical efficiency of over 95%. It is a solid-state system with zero moving parts, providing a level of reliability and silence impossible for traditional engines. By removing both shielding and turbines, this architecture meets the extreme power-to-weight demands required to drive a metric engineering system. While a single FRC reactor is efficient, a full-scale aerospace platform requires a higher level of electromagnetic coherence. Manipulating the local spacetime metric requires coordinating multiple high-energy fields simultaneously. This is achieved through the Trivergence protocol, the deployment of 3 individual FRC units operating as a single synchronized array. The array is held together by the coalescence instability, where adjacent magnetic structures with parallel currents naturally attract one another. It is further stabilized by the Peratt instability, which uses intense Birkeland currents to force the plasma bodies into a specific geometric arrangement. These natural instabilities act as a passive guidance system, locking the 3 nodes into a rotating equilateral triangle formation. For the array to be effective, their magnetic helicities must be aligned. 2 nodes are set in parallel, while the third maintains an opposing helicity. This protocol replaces complex mechanical flight controls with natural plasma physics, creating a rigid, self-correcting frame. To activate the drive, the system triggers a process called counter-helicity merging. The platforms collapse their formation, forcing the opposing magnetic fields of the array to intersect at a central point. As the fields collide, they violently annihilate, converting the stored magnetic energy into intense plasma heating and a hyper-accelerated central spin. This concentrated surge of kinetic energy produces a massive localized angular momentum. According to the Lenz-Thirring effect, a rotating mass this dense will physically drag the fabric of spacetime along with it. This rotation twists the local vacuum, creating a localized frame-dragging effect that influences the surrounding metric. By manipulating the Weyl curvature tensor in this way, the platform can dictate the flow of gravitational tidal forces around the craft. The merge isn't an explosion, but a precision event that creates a controllable shear in the spacetime metric, enabling non-aerodynamic propulsion. This level of metric engineering produces specific, observable physical signatures. Expanding the spacetime metric is a work-intensive process that creates a localized energy deficit. To maintain energy balance, the system pulls thermal energy from the immediate environment, causing a rapid and localized drop in temperature. This is the thermal void, a zone of extreme, deep freezing cold that appears at the drive's epicenter, defying standard atmospheric thermodynamics. When the drive cycle ends and the spacetime metric normalizes, the magnetic containment of the core is released. The cooling plasma instantly reverts to a neutral gas state, releasing its stored energy as a blinding burst of photons. The simultaneous observation of an endothermal thermal void, followed by a luminous plasma flash, aligns with the energy exchange required by a metric engineering platform.
All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we are looking at an absolutely fascinating stack of declassified blueprints, patent filings, and advanced physics papers. And when you put them all together, they outline a clandestine track of aerospace engineering, one that doesn't rely on jet fuel or your standard aerodynamics, but on the raw, untamed power of plasma physics.
So here's the ultimate engineering paradox, right? How on earth do you fit a literal sun inside a military drone? We all know that nuclear fusion, the exact same process that powers the stars, produces just a nearly limitless amount of energy. But bringing nuclear fusion to a mobile aerospace platform, that seems impossible. I mean, stars are immensely huge, relying on crushing gravitational forces, and our terrestrial fusion reactors are traditionally the size of entire buildings. So how exactly do the source materials suggest you take something that massive and fit it inside a flying drone?
Okay, let's dive into this. If you look on the left, we have the traditional tokamak reactor. It's massive, stadium-sized, incredibly heavy, and completely reliant on gigantic external superconducting magnets. But the documents we are examining point toward the technology on the right, the compact fusion reactor, or CFR. The source material outlines a complete, ground-up paradigm shift from those clunky, massive past technologies to these silent, solid-state engines designed specifically to be mobile and totally self-contained.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds literally like science fiction. But just check out the patent ledger. This quote comes directly from U.S. Patent 9947420B2, filed by Thomas McGuire over at Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division. The blueprints explicitly outline a fusion reactor small enough to be mounted inside an aircraft or spacecraft. When a prime defense contractor is out there publicly patenting the specific hardware, it strongly signals that the underlying physics is not just some whiteboard theory anymore. It is a mature, engineered reality.
So the foundational architecture making all this possible is called a field-reversed configuration, or FRC for short. Imagine a glowing, three-dimensional cross-section of a magnetic containment field. Unlike that giant tokamak we just saw that needs heavy external coils to hold the plasma in place, an FRC is essentially this ultra-hot smoke ring of plasma that generates and sustains its own magnetic topology. It literally traps itself.
And the absolute defining metric of an FRC is its plasma beta. In fusion physics, beta is just the ratio of plasma pressure to magnetic pressure. Standard reactors have a very low beta, which means they waste a ton of energy just trying to hold the plasma together. The FRC, however, possesses an exceptionally high plasma beta, roughly equal to 1. This means it confines the plasma with incredible efficiency, generating a massive power density that is perfectly optimized for the super tight space constraints of a drone.
But here's the really wild part. The FRC isn't just a battery. The sources actually describe it as a native space-time engine. Because of that intense magnetic topology we talked about, the strong internal currents of the FRC impart a spontaneous, stable, and just incredibly rapid internal rotation to the plasma. You have a hyperdense mass of energy spinning at staggering velocities. And as you'll see in just a minute, this rapid rotation is the fundamental prerequisite for utilizing the drone not just to fly, but to actively manipulate gravity itself.
Okay, so right about now, you're probably asking some very logical questions, like, if a drone is carrying around a nuclear fusion reactor, why doesn't the lethal neutron radiation absolutely fry its own avionics? And furthermore, standard nuclear power plants use the heat of the reaction to boil water and spin these heavy steam turbines. You obviously cannot fit a massive steam turbine inside a sleek, aerodynamic drone. So how do you actually get electricity out of this spinning star?
Well, the engineers used a brilliantly elegant hack to solve the radiation problem. The aneutronic fuel cycle. Instead of fusing standard isotopes that blast out lethal fast-moving neutrons, the blueprints suggest using specific fuels like deuterium and helium-3 or proton-boron-11. When these specific isotopes fuse at over 1 billion degrees, they don't produce deadly neutron radiation. Instead, they release their energy primarily as highly charged particles, specifically alpha particles. This completely, 100% eliminates the need for heavy, lethal radiation shielding.
And since the reaction produces charged particles instead of heat, you don't need steam turbines at all. It uses a 3-step process called inductive direct energy conversion. The aneutronic fusion pulse occurs, the charged plasma violently expands outward against the confining magnetic field, and that pushing motion basically acts like a reverse particle accelerator, inducing a massive electrical current directly into the drone's external coils.
So the crucial point here, and this is a real game changer, is that this direct energy conversion recovers the energy of the fusion reaction with over 95% efficiency. It bypasses the whole thermal cycle entirely. What you are left with is a perfectly silent, solid-state power plant with literally 0 moving parts, capable of generating gigawatts of electricity to power the drone's advanced systems.
Now that we have the power, how is it actually applied? Well, that brings us to Act 3, the Trivergence Protocol. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens next. According to the research, multiple drones deploy simultaneously and link their magnetic fields using natural plasma phenomena, specifically things called parrot and coalescence instabilities. They don't just fly in a normal formation. Their magnetic fields actively attract and lock together, passively guiding the drones to naturally form a synchronized rotating triangular structure around a target.
The core mechanism driving their combined power is something called counter-helicity merging. Think of helicity as basically just spin direction. When the drones deploy, they are actually programmed with magnetic fields spinning in opposite directions. As the drones use the Trivergence protocol to converge on a single point, these opposing magnetic fields are violently forced to merge.
And when you force these opposing fields together, you trigger a rapid series of cascading effects. The anti-parallel magnetic fields undergo magnetic reconnection and just annihilate each other. This causes an instantaneous conversion of all that stored magnetic energy, resulting in intense plasma heating and an extreme explosive kinetic energy release directly at the geometric center of the drone formation.
Which leads us right into the final and honestly most mind-bending application, Act 4, Space-Time Metric Engineering.
The documents posit that this massive nonlinear energy amplification isn't just an explosive force. It is explicitly designed to alter the local geometry of space-time itself. It relies on a principle of general relativity known as the lens-thirring effect, or frame dragging. Imagine spinning a spoon in a jar of honey. The honey twists and drags around the spoon, right? Well, by rapidly spinning the hyperdense FRC plasma, the drone's intense electromagnetic fields manipulate the Weyl curvature tensor, which is the math governing the tidal aspects of gravity. The entire system acts as a gravitational rudder, effectively dragging the fabric of spacetime for unimaginable maneuverability.
Now, if a device expands or warps local spacetime, classical thermodynamics dictates it's going to leave a very specific physical signature. The source materials describe this as the thermal void. When localized spacetime expansion occurs, it generates a massive endothermic energy deficit. Basically, this means it violently pulls heat from the surrounding environment to fuel the expansion, instantly freezing the ambient air and creating an intense anomalous cold spot.
And right alongside that, we see the second signature, the luminous flash. As the localized space-time event concludes, the magnetic containment momentarily drops, the superheated FRC plasma core violently deconfines and cools, reverting back to a neutral gas state. This rapid cooling triggers a brilliant, blinding flash of plasma recombination, releasing all that trapped energy in a sudden burst of visible light.
So, we have traced the whole path today, from the massive, clunky fusion reactors of the past to the patented, mobile, compact fusion reactors of the present. We've explored the ionotronic fuel cycles that make them silent and solid state, and the truly terrifying implications of the Trivergence Protocol and space-time metric engineering. The declassified blueprints and theoretical frameworks all converge on a single provocative question that definitely leaves you looking up at the sky in a very different way. What happens when you weaponize the physics of a star? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning and keep learning.